afternoon to you. Thanks for joining me on Word at Noon. My name is Remy Allen. Healthcare providers in Ondo State have been charged to key into the vision of the health insurance programs introduced by the present administration towards achieving universal health coverage. Commissioner for Health, Dr. Banji Ajaka, gave the admonition at a strategic meeting of stakeholders in the health sector in Akure, the state capital. Joy Pius reports that different categories of health provider, professionals and administrators attended the gathering put in place by the Ondo State Contributory Health Commission.
Further strengthen the capacity of healthcare delivery system in the state, as well as harnessing efforts to galvanize efficient and responsive processes to enhancing the Orange Health Insurance Scheme, Oranges, prompted the Ondo State Contributory Health Commission to call this stakeholders meeting. Addressing the gathering in Akure, the Commissioner for Health, Dr. Banji Ajaka, who doubled as the chairman on the occasion, thanked key players for embracing the vision of the present administration aimed at providing quality healthcare at the doorstep of all residents.
Oranges was flat up 4 months ago. Now, we're already here with success story. This is wonderful. I think once again is the beginning of the good thing to come. I'm sure that in no distant time we would have story to tell, positive story to tell in the health sector.
The Director General, Ondo State Contributory Health Commission, Dr. Abiodun Oyene, noted that the strategic meeting was another opportunity to interface with who is who in the health sector with a view to analyzing progresses made so far on the Orange Health Insurance Scheme, discussing challenges encountered along the line, as well as coming up with solutions to boost performance.
As of 2019, the health insurance coverage in the state was just about 1.3%, around 60,000 people, despite the implementation of the National Health Insurance Scheme for 14 years. Today, with the commencement of the Ondo State Contributory Health Commission and in collaboration with the National Health Insurance Authority, health insurance coverage has grown to 4.2% in just 3 years. And our target is that in the next 1 year, by God's grace, we should be able to hit the target of 1 million elderly beings.
The third-party administrators, whose job was to ensure proper coordination of the scheme, presented their scorecards since the commencement of the Oranges scheme. The Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Health, Folukemi Aladinola, advised health workers to be committed to their duties, just as the Executive Secretary, Ondo State Drug and Health Management Commodity, Dr. Amos Ayegbusi, assured of the availability of quality drugs at all times. Feelers from the event suggested that the Sunshine Health Insurance Scheme, designed to cater for the informal as well as organized private sector, covering about 90% of the total population of a state, is set to commence full operation. Joy Pius, OSRC News.
Following the collapse of a 7-story building under construction on First Avenue, in the Banana Island area of Lagos State, the state government has ordered that all development projects in the Highbrow area be placed on hold. The State Commissioner for Information and Strategy, Gbenga Omotosho, in a statement said the process was to ensure that a comprehensive audit was done by officials of the Lagos State Building Control Agency. He explained that the directive was to enable the government to determine the number of buildings being constructed without approval in the community and to know if all the approved buildings were being built in line with the approval limits provided. The Lagos State government has also launched a probe into the collapse of the building following a directive by Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu. Nobody died in the incident, which occurred on Wednesday, while 25 people were rescued from the site, even as high-precision 3D laser imagery system used by LESEMA confirmed there is no evidence of anyone trapped in the rubble. Following the expected rise in sea level and tidal surge that may negatively impact agriculture, human settlements, as well as transportation, the Director General of the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, Mustafa Ahmed, has warned citizens on high-risk coastal flooding in Lagos, Delta, Bayelsa and Rivers states. Ahmed, who gave the warning in Abuja during the public presentation of the 2023 Climate-Related Disaster Preparedness and Mitigation Strategies, said no fewer than 665 people died, while 3,181 persons were injured across the country as a result of flooding last year. In a related development, residents of Denro community in the Ifo local government area of Ogun State are currently having a tough time accessing their homes and connecting neighboring communities due to flash flooding. The recent flood has destroyed the bridge connecting them to other communities, with residents admitting that the facility has been showing signs of distress for a long time before it finally collapsed during a downpour. Residents are now making do with long iron rods placed across the river in order to find their way home. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has proposed that banks should transfer funds in accounts that have been dormant for up to 10 years into a trust fund account. This instruction was contained in the recently released exposure draft guidelines on the management of dormant accounts, unclaimed balances, and other financial assets in banks and other financial institutions in Nigeria. A circular accompanying the exposure draft stated that the guideline was in response to requests from banks and other stakeholders for the CBN to clarify the procedures for the management of dormant and inactive accounts by banks in the country. The circular, which was signed by the Director of Financial Policy and Regulation Department of the Apex Bank, Chibuzo Efobi, also called for inputs from stakeholders with a view to further sanitizing the banking sector. Aviation workers' unions have threatened to withdraw their services over the refusal of the federal government to release the reviewed condition of service negotiated over 7 years ago. Other grievances include the non-implementation of the national minimum wage, consequential adjustments in arrears for workers of the Nigerian Meteorological Agency since 2019. The union also rejected the planned demolition of aviation agency buildings in Lagos State to pave the way for an airport city project initiated by the Minister of Aviation, Adi Sirika. In a notice of a 2-day warning strike signed by the Secretaries General of 5 aviation unions, the workers vowed to embark on a warning strike beginning from Monday. The unions had earlier in February issued a 14-day ultimatum to federal government on the same issue. A Moroccan court has sharply increased the jail sentences handed down against 3 men convicted of indecent assault for the repeated rape of an 11-year-old girl in a case that sparked public outrage. The Appeal Court in Rabat has sentenced 1 man to 20 years in prison and the other 2 to 10. Lawyers for the girl, who is now 12, had appealed after a lower court sentenced one of our 3 alleged attackers to 2 years in prison and the others to 18 months each. All 3 could have faced up to 30 years behind bars. France's top constitutional court is ruling today on whether to approve President Emmanuel Macron's deeply unpopular pensions overhaul after months of protests. A green light from the heavily guarded institution would pave the way for the head of state to sign the changes into law and ensure they are implemented by year-end. Experts believe the most likely scenario is that the 9-member body will censor some non-essential parts of the legislation, but approve the core element of raising the retirement age to 64 from 62. Constitutional expert Lauren Fontaine told newsmen that the council will likely follow the course it always had, not to counter big social or societal reforms. But labor unions and opposition lawmakers are still hoping the Constitutional Council will strike down changes that Macron attempted during his first term in office, but which he has managed to put at the heart of the second term agenda. Spokeswoman of Alexei Navalny, Russia's main opposition leader, says the critic is grappling with severe stomach pain in jail that could be some sort of slow-acting poison. An ambulance was called for Navalny overnight at Melekovo prison, about 250 kilometers east of Moscow, where he's being held. Navalny was suffering from severe stomach pain and could not eat the prison food provided to him because it was making his pain worse. Akintunde Akinshemola has details.
Allies of Alexei Navalny, the imprisoned arch-critic of Russian President Vladimir Putin, say he's been hit with unknown ailment behind bars and has lost over 7 kilograms in just 2 weeks. They said the fear maybe it's the result of a slow-acting poisoning. That's according to Navalny's spokesperson Kira Yermish. Navalny is Russia's main opposition leader, in prison on fraud and contempt of court charges they say were trumped up to silence him. This is Yermish speaking.
The latest information we have is from Tuesday, because communication with Alexei is very difficult right now, so we don't get news as fast as we would like them to appear. His lawyer told us that there was an ambulance called for Alexei on Friday because of severe stomach pain he had, which is a huge surprise for us, to put it mildly, because Alexei has never experienced anything like this before. Actually, he doesn't eat anything because he is prohibited to receive parcels with food or to buy food in prison store. There is no answer to it. This is just a way of pressure they put on him. I mean, there is no legal basis to prohibit such thing for any inmate in Russia. We can't rule out the idea that he is being poisoned even now, but not in huge dosage as before. But in small ones, so that for him not to die immediately, but to suffer and to ruin his health steadily, but still. We don't have any proof of this. I am actually terrified.
If it's poisoning, it will not be his first. 3 years ago, Navalny survived an apparent poisoning attempt, with which one Western laboratory test said was a nerve agent. Navalny accused the Russian state of trying to kill him, which he denied. The Russian prison service has also previously denied allegations that its employees have mistreated Navalny, but did not respond to requests for comments. Akintunde Akinshemola for Osrc News.
And that's Word at Noon. Thanks so much for watching. Good afternoon.